Alright guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something called interval size. Let me write this out for you guys, or gals. You don't really know what this is yet, but interval size is extremely important, and interval size is the measurement between two notes. We have a staff, 5-line thing. We have a note here and a note here. The space in between these is called the interval size. Okay? Now this will help us create scales, chords, all kinds of cool stuff. So we're going to be using the scale degrees that we learned in the last video to figure out interval sizes. And then we will also be doing the same thing with sheet music, and sheet music is just like staffs. So I'll be explaining that in the upcoming videos for those of you who are interested in that. So now, let's say I want to figure out the interval between C and G sharp. So we have C, let me draw this up here. And I want to know what the interval size is between these. And remember, it's important to know this because it allows us to figure out how different pitches interact with each other. So the size is very important. Now, let's figure this out. Remember how I said we just ignore the sharps and flats and put them in their natural state. So we can just get rid of this for now anyways. And we can create the scales C, D, E, F, and G. Now, even if this had a sharp on it, I said we can take it down to the natural state to figure out the scale degree. This one was the first, not the first. When I'll get in that in a second. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So since we're starting on C, that's considered the first, or unison. Just give me a minute. And up to G would be C. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So the size between these is called a fifth because we're starting at 1 and going up to the fifth. If we started at D and went to G, it'd be a fourth. Because this would become 1, this would become 2, this would become 3, this would become 4. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, we're taking the scale degree. So we're basically just taking whatever note we start on. Just give me a random letter. Give me a letter. Shout it out. Oh, F sharp you say? Sure, let's use F sharp. F sharp. And we're going to end on E. Flat, right? Let's create an imaginary scale of all the natural notes. F. What's after F? We're going in ascending order, which is up. That sounds ugly. F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Remember, we're going to ignore these. Just ignore them for now. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the distance between an F and an E is called a seventh because we're covering 7 of the scale degrees. So this is a seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Always remember, we count the first one. That's something many people forget. It's not F to G, okay. It's not like this. 1, 2, 3. It's not like that. Wrong. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, let's try something a little more difficult. I'm going to pick, let's go with E sharp, and we're going to go all the way up to A double flat. Now, I'm going to do this wrong, and then you are going to shout out what I need to fix, and I'll hear you, and I'll fix it. Like old cartoons and stuff. So, I'm going to do it wrong, so don't follow this. This is wrong. just in case you didn't hear me, it's wrong. Here's E. E sharp is F because there's no black key. And we're going to A, double flat. Remember A, flat, double flat. So from F to G, 1, 2. So we just covered a second. From F, because remember, we ignore these, which makes this an F, and we ignore these, which makes this a G, right? Right? That's wrong. Right? Wrong. So we covered a second. I'm so smart. Wrong! You failed! I'm going to teach you how to do this properly. E sharp, all the way up to A double flat. Well, first thing you do is ignore the accidentals. Cross this out, just get rid of them. Pretend they're not even there. To find the interval size. Now, E up to A. Well, we have E, F, G. This is the first, second, third, fourth. We cover A in green, a fourth. Not a second. Not. Did you hear me? I said not. Ignore these. You're going to screw yourself up if you don't pay attention. You ignore the accidentals and look at the natural notes. We're going from E to A. That means E, F, G, A. 4. When we have an interval, we go from one note to another. So let's say E to A is an interval. This is specifically a fourth. And if we're going from E to, so let's say E4, which would be right here. E4 up to all the way up until E4, that's the same note. It's actually called a unison. That's another term you need to learn. Unison. It's not a first. A lot of people will call it a first. It's not called a first. I don't care if you call it a first. I don't care if I call it a first. But many people out there will call it a first. But it's actually, it's supposed to be a unison. So if we're going from one note to the same note, it's a unison interval size. Remember, interval size is how many scale degrees we can cover. Sweet. So what if we go from E4 all the way up to E5? Well, let's take a look. We have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. That's 8. So would we call it an eighth? Did I end on E? Hopefully I did. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Yes. That's 8. Many people call that an eighth. That's wrong! Don't call it an eighth because it's actually called an octave. Can't see that? These markers are horrible. An octave. Personally, I don't really care if you call it an eighth. If you want to call it an eighth, go for it. I'm just saying the rules. Don't hurt me. Octave and unison. So, basically, if we have from the same note to the same note, unison. If we have one note to the same note an octave higher, which is just like E4, E5, it's called an octave, not an eighth. That's simple. So that's all we have for interval size right now. In the next video, I will be still talking about interval size, although it will be much more common way of doing it and it'll probably make more sense. So I'll see you then, and subscribe, like this video, follow me on Twitter.